You're sitting on a hot spot. The fish are biting, you're pulling them out one after another. Then it goes dead quiet. Your buddy looks over and says, "Hey, drill another hole right next to it. Wake 'em up." Is he a genius, or did he just ruin the entire area for the next 2 hours? Today, we are finally settling that age-old debate. Does drilling a second hole too close to your first one completely kill the bite? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know the truth, backed by real-world observation and a little bit of fish science. And frankly, it might be the reason your best spots suddenly go cold. To get things started, let me know in the comments right now. Are you a drill close angler or a move far away angler? Let's see what you think. For generations, there have been two schools of thought on this. You've got the old-timers who swear the sound of an auger is a dinner bell. They say it stirs up the bottom, gets the bait fish moving, and draws in the big predators. They'll turn a 10 by 10 foot area into Swiss cheese without a second thought. Then you have the other camp, the cautious anglers. They believe the sound of an auger is like a bomb going off in the fish's living room. They'll drill one hole, and if they have to drill another, they'll walk 50 yards away to do it. For years, we've all just picked a side based on what our grandpa told us or what seemed to work once. But the truth is, in winter, fish are often less aggressive and far more sensitive to their environment. One mistake, one loud noise at the wrong time, can absolutely shut down the bite. So understanding what's really happening down there isn't just trivia, it's critical to your success. So let's set the scene. You've drilled your first hole, you found the fish, and you're in the zone. But why would you even need a second hole in the first place? Maybe the action's slowed, and you want to try a slightly different spot without moving your gear. Or maybe you want to set up a dead stick or a tip-up right next to your jigging hole to double your chances. It could even be as simple as your buddy wanting to get in on the action right beside you. All of these reasons seem logical on the surface. They are all born from the desire to catch more fish. The intention is good, but the execution, the act of firing up that auger a second time right on top of the fish you're trying to catch, is where things can go horribly wrong. It's an impulse we all have, but it's an impulse that needs to be questioned. First, let's address the old guard mentality. You've heard it 1,000 times. The noise brings 'em in. This idea probably started because someone, somewhere, drilled a hole and immediately caught a big, aggressive pike or lake trout. And why not? A big predator might hear a commotion and swim over to investigate a potential meal. This created a confirmation bias. The one time it worked was remembered, and the 9 times it scared everything away were forgotten or blamed on something else like the weather or bad luck. This belief gets passed down from one fisherman to the next, becoming gospel. But it ignores one fundamental truth. Not all fish are aggressive predators, and not all noise is good noise. Believing that an auger is always a dinner bell is a dangerous oversimplification. Now for the counter-argument, the belief that an auger is the ultimate fish repellent. This side argues that the underwater world is a relatively quiet place, especially under a blanket of snow and ice. Then suddenly, a deafening roar and a violent vibration tears through their entire world. From a fish's perspective, this is a terrifying, unnatural event. It's not a dinner bell, it's an earthquake. This line of thinking suggests that the fish will either scatter in panic or hunker down on the bottom, completely shutting off their feeding instinct until the perceived danger passes. In this scenario, your second hole didn't just fail to attract fish, it actively cleared the area of any fish that were there. The interesting thing is, just like the dinner bell theory, this can also be true. It all depends on the situation. To understand which theory is right, we have to talk about sound. Sound travels very differently in water than it does in air. It moves about 4 times faster and much, much farther. On top of that, the ice acts like a giant amplifier, carrying the vibrations from your auger across a huge area. Imagine you're in a small, quiet library and someone starts a chainsaw right next to your table. That's a good approximation of what we're doing to the fish. The sound isn't just a distant rumble, it's an all-encompassing high-decibel event that penetrates their entire environment. We stand on the ice, separated by the air, and we underestimate the sheer violence of the noise happening just a few feet below us. It's a sensory assault. And not all augers are created equal. They each have their own unique sound signature. A big, old two-stroke gas auger creates a low-frequency, rumbling vibration that you can feel in your bones. It's a violent, grinding sound. A modern electric auger, on the other hand, produces a much higher-pitched, whining noise. While we might perceive the electric as quieter, that high-frequency sound can be incredibly jarring to fish. Then you have the hand auger, which is the quietest of all, creating just a scraping sound. The type of noise matters just as much as the volume. Some sounds might trigger curiosity, while others trigger pure, unadulterated panic. Knowing your equipment's acoustic footprint is the first step in managing its impact. Now let's get into some Fish Biology 101, and this is the most important part. Fish don't just hear with their ears, they have a specialized organ called the lateral line. It's a series of pores running down their sides that detects movement and pressure changes in the water. They literally feel vibrations. This is how a pike can sense a struggling perch from 30 feet away in murky water. So when your auger is running, fish aren't just hearing a noise, they are feeling a powerful, rhythmic, and often painful vibration throughout their entire body. This is a much more intense experience than just hearing something with your ears. It's a full-body assault, and it's why the reaction can be so extreme and so immediate. Let's break this down by species, starting with the skittish ones. We're talking about your panfish, like crappie, bluegill, and even perch a lot of the time. These fish are primarily prey animals. Their entire existence is built around avoiding being eaten. Their instincts scream danger at the first sign of any large, unnatural disturbance. A sudden, loud vibration from an auger doesn't signal food, it signals a predator attacking from above. Their reaction is almost always to either bolt from the area completely or to lock down tight to the bottom or cover, refusing to move or eat until the threat is long gone. So if you're targeting crappies, firing up an auger in the middle of a school is probably the worst thing you could possibly do. Here's a real-world example we've all experienced. Picture this. You're staring at your flasher, and the screen is lit up like a Christmas tree. There's a massive school of crappie suspended 10 feet off the bottom. You're picking them off one by one. Life is good. Then your buddy, who's fishing 20 feet away, decides he needs to move a little closer to the action. He fires up his gas auger and drills a new hole just 10 feet from you. You watch your flasher screen as the blades start to cut. In a split second, every single one of those red and green lines vanishes. The screen is completely blank. Coincidence? Absolutely not. You just witnessed a mass evacuation caused by a single, poorly timed hole. But what about the big, bad predators? This is where it gets interesting. Fish like walleye, northern pike, and lake trout are at the top of the food chain. They aren't as easily spooked because, frankly, not much is trying to eat them. Their reaction to the auger can be completely different. A sudden commotion can actually trigger their predatory instincts. They might interpret the vibration and noise as a sign of struggling baitfish or other feeding activity. This curiosity can cause them to move in and investigate the source of the disturbance. This is the origin of the dinner bell theory. It's not that they like the sound, it's that their brain is wired to check out any potential feeding opportunity. So for these species, a new hole can just sometimes be a good thing. So, is the dinner bell theory completely bunk? Not entirely, but it's wildly misunderstood. The vibration might not be a dinner bell in the sense that they think you're feeding them. It's more like a signal of activity. But here's the critical detail that most people miss. It's about the type and context of the noise. A single hole being drilled followed by silence might attract a curious walleye. But drilling 5 holes in a row with the constant starting and stopping of the engine creates a zone of chaos that even a hungry pike will avoid. The key is that a brief investigation signal is one thing, but a prolonged, terrifying disturbance is another. The dinner bell can quickly turn into an air raid siren. Beyond the noise, there's the pressure problem. Think about it. The water under the ice is a closed system. When you punch a hole through several inches or feet of ice, you're creating a sudden and dramatic pressure release at that exact spot. Water often rushes up into the hole. To the fish directly below, this is a significant and unnatural hydrodynamic event. It's a sudden change in their physical environment. While it might be a minor event for a fish 30 feet down, for a fish just a few feet under the ice, it's a huge change. This sudden shift in pressure can be just as unsettling as the noise, causing them to move away from the immediate area simply because it feels wrong and unsafe. And let's not forget about the light bomb. Under a layer of ice, especially with snow cover, the underwater world is dim and dark. A fish's eyes are fully adjusted to this low-light condition. Then your auger breaks through. A brilliant, concentrated column of sunlight suddenly punches through the darkness. For fish, especially those in shallow water, this is the equivalent of a flashbang grenade going off in a dark room. It's disorienting and alarming. It completely silhouettes you and your gear against the bright sky, making you look like a massive predator from above. In clear, shallow water, the sudden introduction of a bright light source can spook fish long before the noise even becomes the primary factor. It's another sensory shock they have to deal with. This brings us to one of the most crucial factors in this whole equation: shallow water versus deep water. These are two completely different ball games. If you're fishing in 6 or 8 feet of water, every single effect we've discussed is amplified 100 times over. The noise is louder, the vibration is more intense, the pressure change is more dramatic, and the light penetration is blinding. In this environment, drilling a second hole nearby is almost guaranteed to spook every fish in a wide radius. But if you're fishing for lake trout in 80 feet of water, the story changes. The sound is muffled by the sheer volume of water, and the fish are too deep to be affected by the light. In deep water, you have a lot more leeway. So the big question remains, how close is too close? There's no magic number written in stone because it depends on all the factors we've discussed. It depends on the water depth, water clarity, snow cover, the species you're targeting, and the type of auger you're using, but we can establish a practical threshold. If you're fishing for spooky panfish in less than 15 feet of water, too close could be anything inside of 30 or even 40 feet. For walleye in 25 feet of water, too close might be 10 to 15 feet. The closer you are to your first hole, the higher the risk. You have to start thinking in terms of risk versus reward. Is the potential benefit of that new hole worth the high risk of shutting down the entire spot? To make it simpler, here is a practical rule of thumb you can use. In water less than about 15 feet deep, make a conscious effort to keep any new holes you drill at least 25 to 30 feet away from the spot you are actively fishing. This gives a decent buffer zone. In water deeper than 15 feet, you can probably shrink that buffer zone down to about 15 feet. The deeper you go, the closer you can get. This isn't a perfect scientific formula, but it's a solid, conservative starting point that will help you avoid making a catastrophic mistake. It forces you to pause and think about the depth and the potential impact before you pull the cord on that auger. This leads us to the classic Swiss cheese mistake. We've all seen that angler. They set up in one spot, and if the bite is slow for 5 minutes, they drill another hole, and another, and another. By the end of the day, they're sitting in the middle of a 20-hole minefield, all within a tiny area. They think they're increasing their chances by covering every square inch of the structure below, but what they're actually doing is carpet bombing the zone with noise and vibration. They are systematically spooking any fish that might have been there. It's a classic case of working harder, not smarter. More holes does not always equal more fish. In fact, it often equals fewer. So what is the smart way to drill a second, third, or even 10th hole? It's all about timing. If you know you're going to want multiple holes, for you, for a friend, for dead sticks, do all of your drilling at once, right at the beginning. Get to your spot, drill all the holes you think you'll need for the day, clean them out, and then let the area completely settle down. Give it a good 20 to 30 minutes of silence. let the fish relax, and forget about the disturbance. This way, you get all the disruption over with in one single burst, rather than repeatedly spooking the fish every hour. This single change in strategy can make a world of difference. There is another smart tactic, especially for those shallow water panfish missions. Go old school and use a sharp, high-quality hand auger. Yes, it's more work, but the difference in noise and vibration is staggering. A hand auger creates a gentle, scraping sound that is far less intrusive. The fish barely seem to notice it. For targeting those ultra-skittish crappies and gills in shallow water, a hand auger isn't a step backward, it's a strategic advantage. It allows you to stealthily punch a new hole just a few feet from your first one without causing a panic. It's the ultimate tool for the thinking angler. And if you still have doubts, the underwater camera never lies. We've spent countless hours watching the screen, and the evidence is undeniable. You can be watching a group of perch casually milling around your lure. The moment an auger starts up nearby, even 30 or 40 feet away, their behavior instantly changes. They either dart away out of frame or they flatten themselves on the bottom and refuse to move, sometimes for a very long time. The camera gives you a fisheye view of the chaos. It shows you in real time the direct consequences of your actions on the surface. Seeing it once will make you a believer forever. So let's reach a final verdict on the noise. In the end, it's not always the drilling itself that's the problem. It is the surprise. It's the sudden, violent, and unpredictable intrusion into their world. Fish can get accustomed to consistent, distant noises like the sound of snowmobiles on a busy lake, but a loud, jarring noise that appears directly overhead out of nowhere is a classic predator attack signal. So the issue isn't just noise, it's unexpected noise. The less you can surprise them, the better your chances will be. It's all about minimizing your footprint and being as stealthy as a 200-pound human walking on their ceiling can possibly be. So, after all that, does drilling a second hole too close kill the entire area? The answer isn't a simple yes or no, it's a classic, it depends. It depends on the species, the depth, the clarity, your gear, and most importantly, how you do it. For shallow water panfish, the answer is, almost always, a resounding yes. For deep water predators, it might actually help. The single most important game-changing takeaway here is that you have to stop thinking like a human on top of the ice and start thinking like a fish underneath it. To us, it's just a little noise for a few seconds. To them, it can be a terrifying, world-altering event. The real killer isn't the second hole itself. It's the thoughtless second hole. This knowledge should change your entire approach to setting up on the ice. Instead of reacting to a slow bite by impulsively drilling more, you should be planning your whole layout in advance. Think before you drill. This is how you go from just catching a few fish to consistently icing your limit. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something new today, and this is going to change how you fish, do me a solid and hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next video. And for my final question, what is the biggest old-timer fishing myth you've ever heard? I want to hear the craziest ones in the comments below. Let's talk about it.